the process of selling a film is very strategic, and we approach it very strategically. So I think the way that we work excites, that's what keeps me going, because that's, I feel like I have to take responsibility for being the architect of what happens with each film. In a way, Tiny Furniture is a good example of a film where, even the filmmakers, when they sent to us in their cover note, they said, this film is totally unsaleable, but if you want to take a look at it, we'd love your thoughts. And when I saw it, I was just blown away by it, and I thought, here's a film that even the filmmakers don't think it can be sold. And I thought, you know what, if I loved it this much, somebody else is going to love it this much, and I'm going to be able to sell it. These filmmakers are really stuck out there, and we see films that come in sometimes, and they'll say, I really hope you would, represent my film, because I'm, probably going to lose my house because I mortgaged it against. And when you hear things like that, you're like, God, it's like, if any help that filmmakers can get is so incredibly valuable. So I think I see Film Independent as being that kind of enterprise that supports filmmakers who might have mortgaged their house.
Okay, so this is once again a super informal conversation. We'll just sort of chat a
Great.
little bit. There's some main themes that we want to go over.
Okay, sounds good.
So we'll just, and you can take things back if you want. So Josh, can you just sort of give us your full name, your company, and your position in the company, and really what Submarine's all about? Like if you can just sort of like
Yeah.
summarize what you're looking at and who you guys are.
Well, I'm Josh Braun. My company is called Submarine. Submarine is a sales agency. We're also a production company, and we have ties to a library of content as well. So we're sort of, have different focuses within the company, but our primary business is selling independent features and documentaries. We've been around for about 9 years, so we'll be having our 10th anniversary party soon. We tend to gravitate a little bit more towards documentaries, as that's sort of what we're known for, but we've sold a lot of features as well. So that's really what we're all about.
Cool, great.
Yeah.
How did you decide to start start the company? What got you into it in the first place, and what motivated or inspired the foundation?
Sure. Well, the company when I joined the company already existed for a year. My twin brother Dan had started the company as a marketing company, primarily to do interactive websites for Absolute Vodka. This was in the year 2000, and at that time I had been working at a foreign sales company called Fremantle, and I just was at the point where I needed something new to do, something else to focus on, and I wanted to be an independent producer, and I decided to throw caution to the wind and quit my job with no visible means of support, which most of my friends said I was crazy, but I decided that was the thing I needed to do. And right at that time, Dan and I talked about working together. We had been in bands together for years, but we never really worked together as a company. So I joined Submarine with the idea of bringing more production, more film and television ideas and development projects, as opposed to specifically selling, which I'd just been doing for 10 years. Shortly thereafter, I started producing a series called Split Screen with Janet and John Pearson, who I'm on the panel with today. And that was sort of a stopgap in between. I wasn't really intending to produce television, but I loved doing that, and it was a series about independent film. And that led to my sort of coming to the conclusion that selling is what I should be doing, what I'm best at, but that I don't necessarily have to go back to international television. So I started making moves into the idea of selling films at that time.
What's your favorite part of selling films? I mean, what gets you up in the morning about this kind of your business?
It's an interesting question. I think it's actually a great question, because at a certain point, when you do anything for long enough, you have to find ways to reinvent, what excites you. I think that really what it is that when a DVD comes in the door and we don't know anything about it, and we just say, here's another submission that came into our company, and we put it in the machine, and it's something astonishing like Tiny Furniture or Winter's Bone or any film that we've worked on. Those moments are what make it all worthwhile. When you have that discovery, I mean, I think it's the same for others along the process. It's the same for distributors. It's the same for publicists. It's the same for, I think, everyone involved in independent film, when they have that moment to be able to discover a great film that you have an opportunity to work on. That's kind of what makes it all worthwhile. And of course, for us specifically, like the process of selling a film is very strategic, and we approach it very strategically. So I think the way that we work excites, that's what keeps me going, because that's, I feel like I have to take responsibility for being the architect of what happens with each film. And obviously there are highs and lows, but the highs can be quite high. The lows can be low, but it's all part of the process.
Right. So what do you see in terms of, we're asking everyone this in their discipline, with all these different platforms that are being developed and different ways of distribution and how they're happening, what do you see for the future? What's your vision coming up in the near and sort of mid-future?
Well, I mean, looking at it as either a producer or a salesperson, I think the possibility of selling films in different ways really depends on the film. So there's still going to be that possibility of going to a festival, a big festival like Sundance, Toronto, or Cannes, or any festival, and having hopefully that experience of an all-night bidding war, films selling for a lot of money. That will still happen, I think, as long as there are great discoveries and that there's independently financed feature films and documentaries. But there's also, a good example. There's a film called Being Elmo that we just worked on that was actually released this weekend and had a great theatrical success. Through our company, we decided to release it ourselves because what we had done was split the rights so much. We sold each piece of the film, the digital rights, the Netflix rights, the TV rights, the foreign rights. At the point that we finally did all those deals, theatrical companies that were interested in the film, initially, there wasn't enough left on the table, to be honest. And we did so much better in splitting up those rights with that particular film that was the right approach for that film. But because the theatrical component was so important to the other, for instance, the Netflix deal and the digital rights were all, there was a provision essentially that we had to have a theatrical release. So we ended up doing that ourselves, and that was sort of not something that we generally do, but it worked out really well. And I think sometimes you just have to think outside of the box and approach things differently. And we like to do that. I mean, it's certainly great to be able to go to a big festival and sell the worldwide rights to a film for a large amount of money. But the other way can also be extremely, it can be lucrative and it can be the best thing for a film.
Right. That's such a cool movie. I mean, I've seen it. It's just such a great story.
Yeah.
Great story. Is there like is there a certain kind of film that like a unifying theme or quality or characteristic that is a submarine film? Like, can you? I mean, it's a tough question, I know, because
Yeah.
there's such diversity. But is there some kind of quality or
Yeah. That's a good question. I like the idea. I think any company likes, we like to think of ourselves as a film is a submarine film or it's not. But whether or not that's true or not, we like to approach it that way because I think to some extent there are films that have come through our door that went on to great success that we just didn't respond to and we didn't feel was quite right for us, even though they were potentially good films or had their own qualities. I think in a way, Tiny Furniture is a good example of a film where, even the filmmakers, when they sent to us in their cover note, they said, this film is totally unsaleable, but if you want to take a look at it, we'd love your thoughts. And when I saw it, I was just blown away by it, and I thought, here's a film that even the filmmakers don't think it can be sold. And I thought, you know what, if I loved it this much, somebody else is going to love it this much, and I'm going to be able to sell it. So I felt very confident that we would find a home for it. I know that a lot of other reps had seen it and didn't respond to it, and even someone within our own company kind of was very doubtful. But I mean, I like to go on instinct. I think maybe there's maybe for me anyway, and for our company, if I have an instinct about something, I usually feel like I can trust that to some extent. So maybe that's what I look at a certain film coming in the door as a submarine film because I know that I can do something with it and it excites me.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I mean, I think that's an answer that filmmakers want to hear. That it's just something that resonates with you, and that you'll just take it because of that, not because of its marketability. I like the idea that there's some films that are big that come through or have great potential that you sort of sidestep because it's just not something you can do like in a boutique-y kind of really.
Well, that's the thing is that, Submarine is a very small company. There's only 4 of us at the company. We have other people that work with us that come on a part-time basis, but essentially we are sort of a boutique company. We're not, we're competing against bigger companies in terms of finding films and signing them and representing them. So we have to sort of survive. I mean, I always say like paying your rent is a great incentive because we still have to pay our rent every day or at least every month. And so that's,
every day, it's
yeah.
cumulative. Yeah.
It's cumulative, right?
So final question, and thanks for taking the time.
Sure.
I appreciate it. So, independent cinema is something that clearly it's kind of your bread and butter. But the 30,000-foot view down, looking at it, the value of independent film. Why does a place like Film Independent itself matter?
Right.
Let's talk about Film Independent for a second.
Sure.
And then stepping back from that, what is the value or the relevance or the importance, the need for independent cinema in general?
Sure.
So if you can start with Film Independent, that'd be awesome.
Well, I guess, the best way to put it for us is like, Film Independent, has been, they're very supportive of companies, not just producers and filmmakers, but also companies like mine to invite me to be part of events and to be able to participate in this community in particular because we're based in New York, and there's a certain New York-based, I think, sense sometimes that this is only place that independent film happens, and that's obviously completely untrue. And I think Film Independent is probably the greatest proponent of, creating awareness and building relationships and projects and helping filmmakers here, certainly outside of New York, but obviously specifically here. And I guess. It's just rare that there's an enterprise like that. It's when you think about it, these filmmakers are really stuck out there, and we see films that come in sometimes, and they'll say, I really hope you would represent my film because I'm probably gonna lose my house because I mortgaged it against. And when you hear things like that, you're like, God, it's like if any help that filmmakers can get is so incredibly valuable. So I think I see Film Independent as being that kind of enterprise that supports filmmakers who might have mortgaged their house. And
that's a perfect bite. That's all we needed. Thank you, man, for taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Awesome. Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Oh yeah, you're
Well, I'm Josh Braun. My company is called Submarine. Submarine is a sales agency. We're also a production company, and we have ties to a library of content as well. So we're sort of, have different focuses within the company, but our primary business is selling independent features and documentaries.